Speaker. I move that the 111th report of the Public Works Committee for the 54th Parliament entitled Urrbrae Agricultural High School Redevelopment Project be noted. Urrbrae High School is located on Fullerton Road, Netherby, within the City of Mitcham, and the high school is a special interest agricultural secondary school, as members will well know. The school's curriculum focuses on modern contemporary farming, agribusiness, veterinary studies, agriculture, technology and the environment. The high school was allocated funding of $10 million as part of the Department of Education's Capital Works program initially announced in October 2017. The Urrbrae Agricultural High School Redevelopment Project will be delivering a total school enrolment capacity of 1,300 places by 2022, and this is expected to support the transition of Year 7 students to high school. The proposed scope of works for the high school redevelopment project includes construction of a new health and wellbeing building with specialist areas for food technology, textiles, design and physical education, construction of a new Year 7 building providing general learning areas, specialist music rooms and practice areas, extension and refurbishment of the existing gym, including the installation of ventilation and tiered box seating, construction of a covered outdoor learning area, known as the COLA, adjacent to the new health and wellbeing building, and demolition of buildings and landscaping. The proposed works will be staged, with construction expected to be complete in November 2021. The committee examined written and oral evidence in relation to this project and received assurances that the appropriate consultation had been undertaken. The committee is satisfied that the proposal has been subject to the appropriate agency consultation and does meet the criteria for the examination of projects which members will know is described in the Parliamentary Committees Act 1991. Based on the evidence considered in pursuant to Section 12C of that Act, the Public Works Committee reports to Parliament that it recommends the scope of the works that I've earlier described to the House.
The member for Waite.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and good to see you back in the chair. As the member for Carvell alluded to in his remarks, Urrbrae Agricultural High School is the only special interest agricultural secondary school in the state and is recognised as a centre of excellence for studies in agriculture, science, technology and the environment. Urrbrae is undergoing a lot of change at the moment, which is fantastic to see, and this $10 million project is creating 25 jobs. Constructions of a health and wellbeing building are to include home economics, physical education, teaching space and an agricultural learning square. Construction of a new building to provide additional learning areas for Year 7s includes a music space as well, and there is an extension and renovation to the gym to remove the mezzanine level and provide additional seating to enable whole-of-school assemblies. And of course, like many schools in my community, a lot of the infrastructure was sort of built in the 1960s, and it is great to see the demolition of this ageing infrastructure with a fresh, modern rebuild. Located within metropolitan Adelaide, Urrbrae is no ordinary secondary school, having an outstanding 40-hectare farm in addition to a dedicated wetland for integration with related educational programs, including Tafe programs as well. And of course, Urrbrae, as it sits, is part of the great legacy that Peter Waite left to the people of South Australia. On the western side of Fullerton Road is, of course, the Urrbrae High School campus, and that was as part of his bequest leaving the land to the Education Department. And on the eastern side was the Waite Institute, which is, of course, under the custodianship of the University of Adelaide. And sitting in between that is the Waite Gatehouse, which we, the community, saved from the wrecking ball earlier this year, and is being relocated further on the Waite campus in due course. Urrbrae High School has a commitment to a sustainable world, which is fantastic, and that's a huge core part of what is taught at the school, focusing on developing our understanding for both the vital role of agriculture and the use of material and information technologies for a globally sustainable world. The motto of the school is science with practice, and no doubt the school does embody this ethos. Urrbrae enjoys outstanding support from the agricultural industry, parents, teachers and students to make it a city school with a country feel, and a range of co-curricular activities to cater for students' interest in sports, outdoor education, music and drama, as well as student passion for agriculture, animal husbandry, crop production, science, technology, mathematics, English, humanities more. And just the other day I was actually talking to a Year 11 student from Urrbrae who once again expressed his disappointment that the Royal Show isn't going on this year, obviously because of COVID, and that's sort of now 2 years in a row. But the students of Urrbrae play such a huge role in the agricultural and the horticultural aspects of the Royal Show, and that has been going on now for generations. So hopefully in 2022 the Royal Show can be back, and indeed the students of Urrbrae High School can play their key role in animal husbandry down at Wavell. A big thanks to Jos Fox, who's the principal at Urrbrae. She does a fantastic job and is well respected, incredibly well respected within the community. Of course, the leaders of the SRC, David Hart as chair of the Governing Council, and to all that have made this project possible.
Minister for Education.
Thank you, sir. Urrbrae Agricultural High School is an outstanding facility. It is indeed a school in the city, but it is a school for all of South Australia, and indeed its alumni stretch in every corner of this state, whether they are in agriculture or professional occupations or in any other number of fields. But of course, because of the nature of its specialist program, it is, of course, a very appealing location for people in all sorts of settings to send their kids. There are many, many, many families in the hills, for example, including in the part of the Morialta electorate that I currently serve, but I'm losing at the next election to Hyson, Carville and Schubert, who indeed send their kids to Urrbrae because the extraordinary agricultural program there is fantastic, although there are, of course, other good agricultural programs in a number of other hills schools too. The programs at Urrbrae are special. The farming infrastructure on the school is excellent, and as has been pointed out, the engagement with the Royal Agricultural and Horticultural Society, the Royal Adelaide Show, is pretty important too. The Education Department's had an education program at the Royal Adelaide Show for a number of years. I trust all members have had the opportunity to check it out, and if they haven't, go next year. But it is one of the real highlights of the show. It is a way that young children and primary children and adults interact with animals and agricultural life in many ways. And the majority of the volunteers, student volunteers, for many years have come from Urrbrae High School. We've now got a memorandum of understanding where Urrbrae Agricultural High School will in fact be the lead rather than Education Department's central office. Urrbrae High School will indeed take the lead for running that stand in the future, and more than a stand, it's a building. And so I'm looking forward to that taking place too. I think they'll do a fantastic job, as effect they have done as volunteers in the past. The project that the Public Works Committee has reported on is a really important one. I've visited the school a couple of times. I visited with the member for Waite in 2019 and again prior to that when we were in opposition, and I think he was the member for Davenport at the time. The school has a lot going for it, but certainly some of the built infrastructure there has long been in need of remediation, improvement, replacement and in some cases expansion. The project that is being delivered, it's a $10 million budget and it includes the construction of a health and wellbeing building to include home economics, physical education, teaching spaces and a new agricultural learning space. It includes the construction of a new building to provide additional learning areas for the Year 7s, including a space for music. It includes extension and renovation of the gymnasium to remove the mezzanine level and provide additional seating to enable whole-of-school assemblies. And, of course, the demolition of some of that ageing infrastructure that we talked about. The school's capacity, we're aiming next year for that capacity to be at 1,300, and to put that into some perspective, the current student population is 981. The movement of the Urrbrae Tafe facility, there was an administration group there that is now located elsewhere. So the courses delivered traditionally on the co-located Tafe site, they're still able to be delivered. But a couple of years ago, when we were restructuring the physical capacity of those Tafe sites, the school was able to also make use of some of that space as well, which has proven to be, I think, a very good outcome for all involved. The member for Waite has spoken in this motion, and I know that the member for Unley, into whose electorate the Urrbrae High School is moving as a result of the boundary changes at the next election, is also very excited about the prospect of indeed having the school physically located in his electorate. But, sir, I make the point again that this is truly a school for which many members of the House would have students enrolled. Its catchment is very, very broad, from right across metropolitan Adelaide, the hills and near regions who are able to access the school quite simply, but also people from further afield whose kids come to Adelaide, if indeed they're able to attend the school. Principal Fox is well known. She's an absolute true local to the Urrbrae Agricultural High School in a way that very few school principals can be said to be as local as she is. I commend her for her work. Matthews and Partners are the architects, and the builder, sir, is Cook Building and Development. This project is well and truly underway. Anyone driving past is able to see that work underway, and we're on track for completion in the next couple of months. We are currently scheduled for late October. These things are subject to change, moving back and forward a bit, but very much so in the wheelhouse of being complete by the end of this year, and I can't wait to see the final project. The school has benefited, of course, also from the investment the Marshall Liberal Government has made in communications technology and internet infrastructure, with the connection to the Swift internet rollout, the fibre optic cable to the school in July 2019. So for the last 2 years, the school has benefited, as have all of our public schools around South Australia, from that extraordinary uplift that's been provided by having 21st century internet connections, the utility sort of connection whereby the reliability of the internet that is needed by entire classes or entire cohorts of students all at once is as reliable as turning on a light switch in your house. That's not been the case previously. And for a school that, like Urrbrae, with its connections across the vast landscape of South Australia, they've been able to use that internet connection to great effect and those improvements to great effect. Looking forward to seeing the project completed. I commend the Public Works Committee for its work in this area. The Chair of the Public Works Committee, the member for Carville, of course, has a particularly high number of his constituents who drive down the freeway and are able to access Urrbrae Agricultural High School. I remember meeting in the member for Carville's office not so long ago with the former chair of the Urrbrae High School Governing Council, who at the time was also a resident in Mount Barker. So clearly there's a strong connection there, and I'm sure that as Chair of the Public Works Committee he gave it his laser-like focus to ensure that the people of South Australia got excellent value for money, and indeed the students and school community at Urrbrae Agricultural High School got an outstanding facility with the appropriate parliamentary oversight of the project. I commend the project to the House.
The member for Hammond.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I rise to support this Public Works Committee report into the latest redevelopment to Urrbrae Agricultural High School, and not only noting the significant investment by the Marshall Liberal Government, but noting that I am a former scholar at Urrbrae from, yes, from, hopefully I'm not using that word too loosely, but I attended there in 1978, and the mission was to stay for another year, but I did get allergic to the city and ended up coming home to help my father run the farm. But look, it was an interesting year back then. We'd only recently gone co-ed at Urrbrae, and I think there was about 800 students there at the time, and there was about 10% of those were young ladies. And it was interesting because not only do you get, as has already been indicated in the motion of the Public Works Committee, is the fact that country kids from all over the state come there to learn, science, technology, environment, but in my mind, very importantly, agriculture, and it's had great facilities over the years which have been kept up to speed by governments across that time. And I know Malcolm Buckby, a former member of this place, former member for Light, instigated some upgrades many years ago as well. But it certainly gave an insight, not just for the country students, but city students that wanted to have a connection to agriculture, and I think it's something that we can't afford to lose as we move forward. And you certainly note in COVID times the importance of essential services like agriculture, and you get some of the, well, I'll be frank, the anti-COVID, the anti-vaxxers, whatever brigade you want to call them, that when you talk to them, they say, oh, we don't have enough food to feed everyone. I said, really? We grow enough food in this country to feed 75 million people, and last time I looked, that's about 3 times our population. So the research work and the education work that happens out of Urrbrae campus is absolutely fantastic. And I remember my teachers, Mr Burford, some of my teachers, Mr Bell, Mr Cook. It's a long time ago, but no, it's a lot of good memories from Urrbrae. And I note that in this project there's 25 jobs created per year. It's a $10 million investment, and key upgrades of this, or key features of the upgrade include the construction of a health and wellbeing building to include home economics, physical education, teaching space, and an agricultural learning square, and construction of a new building to provide additional learning areas for Year 7s, obviously with Year 7s going into secondary school, including a music space. And as part of it, the extension and renovation of the gymnasium to remove the mezzanine level and provide additional seating to enable whole-of-school assemblies. And also part of this is the demolition of ageing infrastructure. So this is great to see this level of investment in this school. It's a great school, educated many students from across Hammond and from across the rest of the state to set them on their path in those fields of agriculture, science and environment. And it's vital that we keep investment in this sector to promote all of these features around agriculture and science and the environment, and long may it be. And to all those Urrbrae students, wish them well in their end-of-year studies, especially those in the later years of schooling, whether they're doing the general course, Year 11 and 12, or they're doing the agricultural course, which is more focused on the agricultural side of thing and farm management and that kind of thing. Wish them all the best in their studies, and may Urrbrae have a long and exciting future, and I commend the report from the Public Works Committee.
Member for Carville speaks. He closes debate. Member for Carville.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm absolutely delighted that we have been able to bring this project forward. It's an essential and important project, not just, of course, for the many, many students who are presently attending the school and will see out their education at Urrbrae, but also for many students who are looking forward to going to Urrbrae from our community and from other communities in surrounding districts, and in some cases right across the state. It is an iconic high school, one that has contributed in very material and vital and important ways to the progress, welfare and improvement of our state, and to our agricultural prosperity and success as a state. And it's right to say that South Australia, of course, has depended on our agricultural success and progress, and there are many symbols in this place that emphasise that point. Mr Speaker, can I thank the member for Waite for his determined and effective advocacy in relation to this project, the member for Hammond for sharing information and background as to his scholarly pursuits and commitments before he joined us here. I think it is telling on occasion when members are prepared to share this information, and I always look very much forward to anecdotes and detail and explanations, I should say, from the member for Hammond as to some of his background. But no, we were very much appreciative of his contribution, as we always are. It was of great interest to me, and I know of great interest to members here present. Can I thank too the Minister? It's right for me to emphasise again the enormous project that he has been seeing through to completion right across his portfolio, and this is but one important example of the fruits of that work, which will, as I earlier mentioned, benefit many, many students and the state in the ways that I have outlined.
Order. The question before the House is that the 111th report of the Public Works Committee entitled Urrbrae Agricultural High School Redevelopment Project be noted. Is it seconded? Put the question. Those of the opinion say aye. Against say no. It's carried.